As I was in the academic world, it seemed to me that there was something very important that was missing from our thinking about leadership. It seemed to me that the concepts that were coming up were often abstract, that they were often far removed from those leaders that I worked with and my own experience who were stressed and stretched to the limit. So I decided to take a different tack, to look for leadership insights in stories of groups that have pressed the limits of human endurance, a place that I call the edge. Well, it's a tremendous honor to be here with you, and I have to say, especially following the speakers this morning, speakers who could do loops of music and came out in flight suits, and I thought, I'm just an old mud marine, what am I going to do? So I thought, well, you know, maybe I could break out my Antarctic exploration equipment, and some people don't recognize me without my hat, so, you know, this is as good as...
Dr. Dennis Perkins, Leadership and Teamwork Lessons from the Edge. Dr. Dennis Perkins, author of the internationally acclaimed book, Leading at the Edge, trusted advisor to senior leaders, former Marine Company commander, Harvard MBA, and Yale faculty.
I like to call things expeditions because it really changes the frame. It changes the way we look at things, sometimes everyday events. You know,
using story and metaphor, the Leadership at the Edge and Teamwork at the Edge keynote presentations provide riveting examples of the tremendous difference strong leadership and teamwork can make under conditions of adversity, uncertainty, and change.
In an expedition, things go wrong and problems have to be solved. Well, this is an expedition. Your work is an expedition, and when you think about leadership and team that way, it becomes a different set of lenses and a different frame, and one that I've found very helpful. Let's go exploring. In August of 1913, a ship called the Carluck left Victoria, British Columbia to explore the Arctic, the frozen north. The next year, a ship called the Endurance left London to explore the frozen south. Now, the start of these two expeditions was in many ways the same. Both ships became beset in solid pack ice. Both crews faced the same shortages of food, supplies, and equipment. But the outcomes of these two adventures were as different as the poles that they set to explore.
The Leadership at the Edge presentation recounts the story of Ernest Shackleton's epic Antarctic expedition in 1914. Shackleton and his crew overcame unimaginable hardships to return without loss of life after 634 days in the frozen South. Dennis explores the parallels between the challenges faced by Shackleton and those faced by leaders in today's business environment.
The coldest temperatures on Earth have been recorded in Antarctica, near the pole of relative inaccessibility, minus 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit. I can see Jennifer is shivering just thinking about that. So as we go through the story, what is your Antarctica? What are your icebergs? What are your blizzards? What are the katabatic winds rolling off the plateau? What are the challenges and what are the rewards? A question you might ask is, why go to the ends of the earth to learn about leadership? The problem with me is I get interested in these adventure stories and then I try to do them. So I decided, gee, Shackleton thought it was a good idea. Why don't I try to recreate his voyage, or at least see what he's seen? Antarctica is the highest, driest, coldest, windiest continent on Earth. Blizzards are constants, and katabatic winds of hundreds of miles an hour kick up the snow.
Dennis's exploration of leadership at the Edge is grounded in his own experiences as a Marine officer in combat, and brought to life with a compelling collection of images and stories from his research.
As we got further and further in, even with our modern steel ship, we could be stopped. And that's what happened to Endurance. A mass of ice closed around the ship. They were beset in solid pack ice. And look at that. I mean, for miles and miles in every direction, as far as the eye could see, they were stuck in solid pack ice. You can also see that by day 45, when they were beset, they've almost reached Antarctica. They're almost at a point that they can begin the expedition, but they're separated by open waterways. And also, Shackleton was not going to take a small party ashore and make the crossing and desert the rest of the ship, as did the leader of the Karluk expedition. They moved below deck to a place they called the Ritz, because it was a little warmer, and also they had a sense of humor because it was not the Ritz. They canceled sea watches, and they issued winter clothing. Now, let me just go back to the previous slide. Wouldn't you have issued winter clothing maybe just a little bit earlier in the expedition?
Continued research into stories from the Edge has led to the development of the Teamwork at the Edge presentation. It recounts the contemporary story of the AFR Midnight Rambler, winners of the treacherous 1998 Sydney to Hobart race, the Everest of offshore racing. The crew in their 35-foot boat conquered 80-foot waves and 100-mile-per-hour winds to become the smallest boat in 10 years to win the iconic race.
Conclusion from all of this. Number one, there were systematic differences between teams that succeeded and teams that failed. Conclusion number two, 10 leadership and teamwork strategies seem to be critical to success at the Edge. And number three, strategies that work at the survival edge also can be applied to the performance edge.
The presentations drive home core principles employed by leaders and teams at the limits of physical survival and demonstrate how those principles can be applied in any challenging business environment.
Balanced optimism. Instill optimism and self-confidence, but stay grounded in reality. Yes, Shackleton communicated the message. You've damn well got to be optimistic, and he psyched himself up by reading optimistic poetry. But he was always grounded in the reality of knowing exactly where they were. If you look at the plots that the navigator, there were never any illusions about whether they were going forward or whether they were going backward.
The programs are customized to meet clients' specific needs and have been delivered in a variety of formats, as half-day sessions, full-day workshops, and multi-day events. Leading at the Edge has been consistently well received with senior leaders throughout the world. Clients find the approach so compelling that years later, they still talk about their experience and recount the 10 strategies for success.
Performance, innovation, growth, and change all demand the greatest potential from a group, from an organization, from a leader. Whether you're surviving or you're excelling, you need to pull the greatest potential from your organization.
More than 20,000 executives from organizations of all sizes and across all major industries have participated in the Leading at the Edge and Teamwork at the Edge programs. Dennis's values, unique approach, and experience give him a truly unique capability to help you succeed at the Edge.
Thank you very much. It's been a tremendous pleasure.